All right, let's talk about something we've all been through. You get handed a new API and you have no clue where to even start. It's a classic problem. Well, today, we're going to walk through a really slick, modern workflow. This will take you from being totally lost to having a fully automated test suite that you can actually share with your whole team. So, let's dive right in.
Okay, so picture this. You've got a new API sitting in front of you. It's that moment, right? And the big question is always the same. Where do you begin? Do you just fire up your code editor and start guessing at endpoints? I mean, you could, but there's a way better, much smarter place to start.
And the answer is you start with a map. And I'm not talking about some dusty old PDF manual. The best API docs these days are more like a fully interactive playground. Think of it like this. It lets you get a feel for the entire landscape before you even think about writing a single line of code. Okay, so step one in our workflow is all about exploration. And to make this real, we're going to use the classic pet store API as our example. Because look, before we can test anything, we've got to understand what we're working with. And that is exactly what these interactive docs are for. So this interactive map I'm talking about, it usually comes in a format called Swagger, or you might know it as Open API. And the key word here, the most important word, is interactive. This is not a document you just sit there and read. No. It's a live environment. You can make actual API calls right from your browser with absolutely zero setup. It's pretty amazing. And getting started is honestly ridiculously simple. You just scroll through, you find an endpoint that looks interesting, you click that little try it out button that unlocks the form, you pop in some sample data, and then you just hit execute. And just like that, boom. You've made a real live API call and you've got a real response back. Just take a second and think about what just happened. There was no complex setup, you didn't have to write any authentication logic, you just started to understand the API by actually using it. Instantly. Okay, that was awesome. That kind of exploration is super powerful. But now it's time to get professional. We need to take what we just learned and bring it into a proper testing tool, something like Postman. This is where we can actually save our work and start building it into something automated and, repeatable. And here is where the magic trick comes in. See, when you clicked execute back in Swagger, it gave you more than just a response. It also generated something called a curl command. Now, if you're not familiar, this is basically a universal text-based recipe for the exact request you just made. It's got the URL, the headers, the body, literally everything. And all you have to do is copy it. Okay, you ready for part 2 of the trick? You just hop over to Postman, you find the import button, choose raw text, and then you just paste in that curl command you copied. That's literally it. And check this out. Postman instantly reconstructs the entire request for you. The endpoint, the headers, the body, it's all there, perfectly duplicated. This is huge because it totally gets rid of any chance of you making some little manual copy-paste error. It's a seamless bridge from just exploring to having a real test ready to go. All right, now we get to what is, in my opinion, the most powerful part of this whole workflow, automation. Because look, testing a single request is fine, it's useful, but real-world testing has to be dynamic. We need to simulate how a real user would actually interact with our system. You know the old way of doing things, right? You'd hard-code your test data. You'd always try to create a user named John Doe. But that's so brittle. The second time you run that test, what happens? It fails because that user already exists. The modern way is to use scripts to generate dynamic, random data for every single run. This makes your test so much more robust and, frankly, way more realistic. So now we can connect these dynamic requests together. It's a process called API chaining, and it lets us simulate a full user's journey. So think about it. First, our post request creates a new user. The response from that gives us back a unique user ID. We then use a little script to grab that ID and automatically pass it to the next request, the GET request, which fetches that specific user. After that, maybe we update them with a put, and then finally we delete them, cleaning everything up. That is true end-to-end testing. Okay, this all sounds pretty great, right? But we all know the real world is messy. What happens when the API doesn't give you back a nice, clean JSON response? What if it returns something a little more old school, like XML? How in the world are you supposed to validate that? Well, Postman has a really elegant solution for this. Instead of trying to fight with parsing XML in your test script, which is a nightmare, you just use a built-in library to convert the entire XML response into a clean JSON object. And just like that, you can write all your tests against a structure that's predictable and super easy to work with.
So the takeaway here is really simple. You don't have to be an XML expert. You just need to know this one little conversion trick. By turning something unpredictable like XML into something predictable like JSON, your tests become so much easier to write and maintain. Okay, so let's take a breath. We've explored the API, we've imported it, and we've even automated our tests. But a really professional workflow, it doesn't just stop when the tests turn green. The final, and I'd argue critical step, is documenting your work so that it actually provides value to your whole team. I mean, think about it. A collection of tests that just lives on your machine, that's a job half done. The real value comes when a new developer joins the team, or a QA engineer, or even a product manager can look at it and instantly understand what your APIs do and how you're testing them. And you're going to love this. Just like everything else we've seen, Postman makes this part almost effortless. You literally just select your collection, click View Documentation to get a preview, and if you like what you see, you hit Publish. And what you get is a clean, shareable, public URL. Anyone you send this link to can see your entire documented workflow, complete with sample requests and responses. They don't even need Postman installed to view it. And the best part, if they do have Postman, there's a big Run in Postman button that lets them import your entire ready-to-go collection with a single click. It's so cool. All right, let's bring it all home. We've just walked through a complete, modern, professional workflow for API testing. So what does that look like when you put it all together? It's this 4-step process, but it's really more than just a checklist, you know? It's a whole shift in mindset. You start by exploring, not just jumping into code. You import that exploration seamlessly into a real testing tool. You automate things in a way that actually mimics real-world users. And then you publish it, turning your work into a valuable asset for the whole team. When you follow this process, it completely transforms the task. You're not just randomly poking at endpoints anymore. You are systematically building a valuable, long-lasting asset for your team, a complete, automated, and basically self-documenting test suite. And really, that's the whole point, isn't it? When you have this solid foundation of well-tested, clearly documented APIs, you free up your entire team to focus on what really matters, building great things. So the final question isn't really about testing anymore. It's, what amazing value are you going to build next with all that newfound confidence?